How's it going, everyone? Hope you're doing well today. And welcome back to not a Destiny video, but an Outriders video. Dun dun dun. Not a Destiny video, Heli? What the heck are you doing? I'm unsubscribed. Shush, Billy. So just to be clear, I was lucky enough for Square Enix to get in touch and give me the chance to play an early build of the game Outriders. I was not required to make a video about this. I could have just played it and had the experience and not said a peep on social media or in a video, anything. But considering the release date now is next year in February, I feel it could be a hidden gem in the next year of games coming out. And I'm lucky enough to have an audience who also may enjoy this game and get some insight about the game. A bit of a disclaimer also. This is not a review or my attempt at selling you this game. And quite frankly, I have no idea how to properly structure a video, a proper in-depth look into a game or every single thing I experienced and went through here. I'm just a guy who likes to play video games and go off into their own world. And like I said a second ago, lucky enough to show you as well as tell you about how this went. Plus I just love shooting bad guys and watching their head explode. You know, like everyone does. To kick things off, Outriders is not a live service game. So content wise, it isn't relying on a season pass or a mapped path of content that will be drip fed into the game. This game has all of its content on release, and as of recording this, more info and post-campaign content and other character showcases are going on. So be sure to have a little check around their Twitter and Twitch and all those things for reveals as time goes on. I mean, the TLDR of this little bit is Outriders is not a live service game, which nowadays is fairly noteworthy. So starting from basics, Outriders is a third-person looter shooter RPG that is a mouthful, with the gameplay more based on your character's abilities as opposed to pure gunfights 24/7, and you find out pretty fast why that is. The enemies on this game are aggressive, very aggressive, and bloody. Very bloody aggressive. Your abilities are made to have a short cooldown, at least on the character I used anyway, so you'll always be able to throw down a bunch of pretty fun tools to destroy whoever or whatever is storming at you at high speeds. For example, a turret you plop down that shoots a bunch of artillery rockets for you, right at the general direction of the enemies. Very effective. So there are 4 classes of character to choose from. You have Trickster, who is able to manipulate time. Pyromancer, take a wild guess. They can manipulate fire. Devastator, which can obliterate enemies unleashing seismic attacks. And lastly, the Technomancer, which is the character I use for this playing session. Super gadget based and able to call in missile strikes, call in a minigun or a rocket launcher to spam at faces, or use the ice melee ability to freeze every enemy around you, which I found incredibly useful. I should mention as well, the skill tree in this game is very flexible with the sheer amount of options you have. More health, more shield, go all out on damage with your abilities or weapons. It is ridiculously customizable, and if you don't like what you've chosen, you're able to reset the entire skill tree at no cost. So basically you can afford to mess about and choose what perks suit your playstyle the best. You do feel very unchained in this game abilities wise. And there was quite a fair bit to do even in the 2 hours I was given. Side quests, walking off the main path and mining some materials or doing a bit of exploring around the surrounding areas and caves. Whole lot of bugs and weird creatures that decide to fling themselves at you and ruin your day. But refer to earlier, rocket shooting turrets to obliterate everyone and everything. It works great. Plenty of tidbits of lore to read about how the story is affecting people around you, and I'm talking pages upon pages to read and understand what the grueling reality of the world that you're currently in is like. I know lore in video games is important to some people, and there is plenty to read in that regard. Most vendors you come across will have a story of their own to tell, as well as selling you some pretty unique weapons.
You remember anything about Earth?
I remember a roadrunner. And this coyote. I remember laughing so much, I couldn't stop. It's amazing to think they kept playing cartoons right to the end. I mean, my whole generation. We went to school, we played games online, we hung out with our friends, knowing we wouldn't grow up.
Well, you did.
Yeah. I grew up to see most people I know die. Grew up a refugee with bombs falling every night. And yet, I still feel guilty.
All with different style perks combining with your abilities. We're talking freezing enemies for a certain amount of time, inflicting poison, burning them to death, all sorts of good stuff. And I should make it clear too, in this shooter you cannot simply sit back and play super slowly. If you end up with low health and hang back, you are not going to find any health pack or see your health eventually regenerate. The way to regain lost health is by using your abilities to kill enemies. So you've got to stay pushing and not hold back, destroying the weird alien dudes running at you. I learned this the hard way when I first started. I got clattered by some very rushy melee chompy dudes. Melee chompy dudes. See, this is why I don't make reviews. Anyway, I had to lower the bloody world tier because I suck. Speaking of that actually, there are 15 world tiers. 15 being the hardest of course, and the loot that is dropped from enemies reflects the world tier that you are playing on. So as I was playing, I did notice a good amount of loot dropping, but lesser power than the gear I was wearing due to the world tier I was playing at. One thing that I thought was quite cool that I wanted to point out as well, when you're picking loot up off of the ground, you have the ability to dismantle it into materials right there and then, instead of picking it up, going into your inventory and having to dismantle it there. Small detail, but cool. Quality of life thing. Dodging is also a pretty important aspect of combat to learn. You'll have a lot of large boss type enemies come jumping at you, but slow enough to be able to time dodging away from their attacks. I was playing with a 2-second delay, so it was a bit tricky to get the controls down while playing on that sort of delay, but I was getting the hang of it pretty fast. I made sure to take some time to hover over some of the weapons I got to use, the weapons sold at vendors. We're talking revolvers to sniper rifles, assault rifles, shotguns, light machine guns, all with a bloody plethora of cool perks. As I've already said before, I didn't get to buy any of the vendor weapons as I lacked the currency. There are a lot of ridiculously powerful builds I can already see being used on this game. Now, as far as crafting goes, if you find a favourite weapon of yours, you can upgrade the rarity of that all the way to orange/yellow, you know, exotic tier level. Not sure of the exact limitations to that though. You can also upgrade your weapons by raising the attributes, essentially upgrading the existing perks your chosen weapon already has. We're talking the close range damage, or increasing the armor piercing damage output. I didn't go full in depth as much as I'd like to have done, so I'm sure I'm missing a huge amount of perks that are far more complex than what I saw. Now, if you don't like a mod that your favourite weapon has, you are able to replace it with a different one that you have to obtain from dismantling other weapons that have the mod you would like to replace onto your weapon. Once again, due to time, I didn't get to dive too much into this one either. Still, cool feature. Now, I also found this quite interesting. You are also able to change the weapon variant depending on the type of weapon you are swapping. For example, you can switch your weapon to Demolisher, which has increased clip size, increased crit multiplier, and an overall increase in the range that the weapon has. Or you can switch to Burst, which increases your damage, reload, crit multiplier, range, and stability. Once again, there are more variants than this on different types of weapons. The TLDR is plenty of customization and crafting to make use of. So again, I've only played for a little bit, but so far this seems promising. It was a lot of fun to play, and I did try to step back and take a look at the game objectively when making a video like this, just explaining what I went through. Totally open to being wrong about certain things or simply misunderstanding something that I explained. Aside from a few chunky bit of menu navigation and fast traveling issues which I got lost in, it was nothing that a few quality of life updates couldn't improve. And again, this is a super early build of the game, so I'm trying my best not to somehow make this sound like a review or a this is 100% what this game will be like upon release. We were given a couple of hours to play a select piece of content at a certain point in the campaign, and the play session I had was enjoyable. That, and I love turrets that shoot missiles of death. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know your thoughts on the game. I know it's kind of weird seeing a new game described in only a few minutes, but it's the first time I was given an opportunity like this, so I wanted to let you guys know and really see how it went. I appreciate you all for sticking around, and until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.
Uji will want to hear the end of your story.